chosen one, what I want you to do today is not press a button, reveal where you live, or give money to prove that you agree with heaven. What I desire is for you to pause long enough to recognize the battles that do not belong to you and learn how to return to peace. I do not measure your faith by likes, subscriptions, or a public comment. Neither do I turn blessing into a reward for whoever contributes the most. When you support good work, voluntarily, knowingly, and within your means, that may be a precious act of generosity. But you cannot purchase my protection, love, or guidance through any offering. You do not need to neglect your responsibilities toward your family to prove your sincerity. Give beyond your ability because you fear being considered faithless, or disclose your city or country for a message to become effective. My love is not a transaction, and peace is not activated through activity on a screen. Archangel Michael, the faithful messenger, protector, and executor of my will, stands as an image reminding you of vigilance and courage. Michael does not use fear to keep you from leaving, nor does he declare that you will lose protection if you stop watching a video. The courage represented by this angel is not the spirit of fighting everyone, but the ability to recognize which conversations require your participation and which arguments you should calmly leave behind. I remain the Father speaking directly to you. I want you to understand that not every disagreement is a secret plan to destroy you. Not every difficulty comes from a force following you, and not everyone who misunderstands you is an enemy. Sometimes people do not understand because they have seen only one part of the story. At other times, you spoke while angry, and what you truly wanted to say became hidden. Maturity begins when you do not immediately transform every disagreement into a battle, but honestly accept responsibility for the part that belongs to you. I know the nights when you could not sleep because your mind kept replaying a conversation. You remembered every sentence, every look, every silence, and wondered how you should have answered. Sometimes you imagined dozens of ways to defend yourself. Yet the more you thought, the more exhausted you became. You wanted the other person to understand that you had no harmful intention, and that what they saw did not represent your whole heart. I know how deeply it hurts to be misunderstood, especially when you tried to live kindly. Yet a few words spoken in anger caused others to see you through a distorted image. Nevertheless, you cannot spend your entire life correcting the way everyone thinks about you. Some people will listen when you explain sincerely. Some will need time. Others have already decided to believe their own version and do not want to see anything more. Speak the truth once with calmness. Apologize if you caused harm, and then stop pulling yourself into endless circles of argument. Words spoken in anger may create consequences, but they do not open a mysterious doorway that places a curse upon your life. They may weaken trust, create distance in a relationship, or produce misunderstandings that need repair. Therefore, do not deny the weight of words, but do not live in panic because of one moment when you failed to govern your emotions. Admit the specific wrong. Do not say, "I am sorry," if you felt hurt. Honestly acknowledge that you spoke without gentleness, failed to listen, or reacted too strongly. Then demonstrate correction through action. Learn to pause when anger rises. Leave the conversation briefly, if necessary, but explain that you will return when you are calmer. A sincere apology is precious, but consistent change is what helps another person believe that you have truly learned. I also see the exhaustion that comes from continually having to defend yourself. Perhaps You are in an environment where your words are often distorted, your boundaries are ignored, and your silence is treated as an admission of guilt. If so, you need discernment, not merely more explanations. Preserve important information, communicate clearly, and seek support from the appropriate people when necessary. You do not need to endure insults in order to prove humility. Neither do you need to answer every provocation in order to prove strength. Some verbal battles only consume energy without bringing anyone closer to the truth. When you recognize that a conversation has become nothing more than two people trying to hurt one another, stop. Silence in that moment is not weakness. It is a boundary that protects both your dignity and the dignity of the person before you. Yet distinguish wise silence from concealing what needs to be spoken. Silence is not the only key that opens every door. Sometimes silence prevents you from saying what you will later regret, but sometimes you need to speak in order to protect someone vulnerable, clarify the truth, or stop harmful behavior from continuing. I do not call you to endure so much that you lose your voice. I teach you when to speak, what to say, and what attitude to carry. Words arising from peace are different from words arising from pain. They do not seek to humiliate, exaggerate, or use another person's secrets as weapons. They are clear, boundaried, and directed toward a solution. Even when you must say something difficult. I know that financial pressure has also kept you awake during many nights. Unexpected expenses, family obligations, unstable work, or an investment that did not produce the promised results may have left you feeling trapped. You watched others receive promotions and wondered why opportunities came to them when you believed you had worked more diligently. I do not deny that sense of injustice. Life contains unfair decisions, favoritism, and occasions when people receive opportunities for reasons that do not reflect their actual ability. Yet do not allow bitterness to stop your growth. Ask what you can improve, which skills you need to develop, which professional relationships need cultivation, and whether it is time to seek a new environment. Another person's injustice must not become your excuse to neglect responsibility for your own future. Not every closed door is a special act of my protection. Some doors close because you were not adequately prepared. Some because another person chose a different direction, and some simply because life contains limits beyond your control. Whatever the cause, you can still ask, what can I learn from this? A rejection may help you improve your application, strengthen your ability, or realize that you were pursuing a road that no longer suited you. An unsuccessful investment may teach you about risk, transparency, and the danger of placing money into something you do not understand. I do not want you to place a spiritual interpretation upon every failure while ignoring practical lessons. Mature faith does not flee from numbers, contracts, data, or professional counsel. It helps you face reality without becoming paralyzed by despair. If an investment once appeared exceptionally promising, but failed to produce results, do not immediately add more money merely to recover what was lost. Stop, verify the information, and seek someone with trustworthy expertise. Do not believe an opportunity simply because the person promoting it uses spiritual language, calls it a seed, or claims that doubt is evidence of insufficient faith. You have the right to know how the money will be used, who is responsible, and what the specific risks are. When you give because you understand and choose freely, not because you fear that refusing will cause you to lose a blessing. When you invest through knowledge, not emotion. I want you to be generous, but generosity must walk beside wisdom. You have also quietly faced health concerns that confused you. Certain symptoms persisted. Your body felt heavy on some days, and there were times when you did not immediately receive a clear answer. I know how exhausting it is to explain something others cannot see. Yet do not conclude that a doctor's inability to identify the cause immediately means that the problem must be a spiritual attack or a secret that only faith can resolve. Medicine sometimes requires time, additional testing, another opinion, or long-term observation. Continue seeking suitable care, record your symptoms, ask questions about what you do not understand, and seek another professional opinion when necessary. Prayer can bring peace and strength, but it does not require you to refuse treatment or ignore signals from your body. I do not promise that every illness will be explained or healed within the time you desire. Yet you do not need to feel ashamed when you are weak, and your worth is not reduced because your body needs care. Rest when you are tired, take medicine according to appropriate instructions, cultivate healthy habits, and speak with someone trustworthy instead of carrying everything alone. If health anxiety prevents you from functioning normally, seek professional help. Courage is not suffering in silence. Sometimes courage means admitting that you need assistance and continuing to search for answers, even when the journey is longer than you hoped. I know you feel that you were created for something meaningful, though you cannot yet see its form. Within you is a desire to contribute, do good, and refuse to let your life pass without purpose. Yet do not regard your present ordinary responsibilities as meaningless time before the great thing appears. Purpose is not found only in a mission that makes many people know your name. It is present in the way you care for your family, work honestly, treat vulnerable people kindly, and keep your word when no one is watching. You may already be living within your purpose before you know how to name it. Greatness is not always loud. Some lives create profound influence through faithfulness in very small things. Not every hardship was designed for a secret purpose. Some painful things should never have happened. I do not want you to call abuse, deception, or injustice a lesson you were required to endure in order to grow. When something is wrong, call it wrong. Seek safety, find support, and do what you can to prevent it from continuing. Yet, after you have been brought out of it, I can help you prevent the pain from becoming your entire identity. You can learn to recognize warning signs sooner, establish clearer boundaries, and show compassion toward others experiencing something similar. Meaning does not make evil good. It simply proves that evil does not have the authority to decide who you will become. Not every delay has a spiritual reason you must uncover. Sometimes you wait because processes require time, resources are limited, or another person has not yet made a decision. Trying to discover a profound explanation for every delay may exhaust you even more. Do what you can, and accept what you cannot control. Check progress, prepare alternatives, and do not let one door carry all your hope. Patience is not sitting motionless while waiting for a miracle. It is continuing to live responsibly while the outcome remains unclear. My beloved child, the silence I am teaching you during this season is not punishment, but a way of protecting your heart from battles that no longer deserve your strength. I do not want to restrict your voice, and I certainly do not want you to become passive before wrongdoing. I want you to learn how to distinguish necessary speech from speech born from pain. Speaking for truth from trying to win an argument that only causes everyone more harm. There have been times when you explained too much to people who did not genuinely want to understand. You spent hours defending your intentions before someone who was merely waiting for one imperfect sense to continue judging you. You believed that if you found the perfect words, they would finally see your heart. Yet you cannot use more speech to open the ears of someone who has deliberately closed them. Therefore, I invite you to step away from the noise, not to escape, but to recover clarity. Archangel Michael, the faithful messenger, protector, and executor of my will, stands as an image reminding you of disciplined courage. Such courage is shown not only when you speak boldly, but also when you withhold a sentence that could make the situation worse. Michael does not fight every person in your place, nor does he teach you to regard those who disagree as enemies. He reminds you to protect peace, integrity, and dignity with a steadfast heart. I remain the Father guiding you directly, and I do not want you to use your mouth to continue battles that truth, time, and your actions could answer more effectively. There have been conversations you entered intending to explain yourself, but they eventually became places where you had to prove your worth. You added another sentence. The other person replied more sharply. You tried to clarify, and they brought up unrelated matters. Gradually, both of you forgot the original issue and wanted only to be proven right. After such conversations, you did not feel understood. You felt more exhausted, ashamed, or angry. I want you to recognize these signs sooner. When a conversation no longer moves toward truth, reconciliation, or a solution, you have the right to pause it. You may say that you need time to become calm and will return when both of you are able to listen. Leaving an argument is not surrender. It may be your refusal to allow anger to decide who you will become. Words spoken in anger can create consequences you never wanted. They may injure trust, break a relationship, or cause a small problem to become serious. Yet I do not want you to fear, as though one wrong sentence opened a mysterious door that can never be closed. You can take responsibility, apologize, and make amends. When you realize that your words hurt someone, approach them humbly. Do not justify yourself by saying that you spoke that way, only because they made you angry. You are still responsible for how you responded. Clearly acknowledge what you did wrong, listen to how it affected them, and let change in your life prove your apology. One mistake is not the end when you are willing to learn. I also know there were times when you were not wrong, yet you were still misunderstood. Others assigned motives to you that you never possessed, retold the story in a way that made you appear harmful, or judged your whole character from one moment. In such circumstances, the desire to defend yourself is natural. You may speak the truth, provide necessary information, and clarify what was distorted. Yet after doing your part, know when to stop. You do not need to return every day to persuade people who have chosen to preserve their prejudice. Some accusations cannot be answered by a longer explanation, but only weakened over time through a consistent life. Let the way you live answer what words cannot resolve. The silence I teach is not silence before violence, abuse, deception, or injustice. When you or someone else is being harmed, seek assistance, document what has happened, speak with responsible authorities, and protect safety. Do not use teachings about patience to force yourself to endure wrongdoing. I do not require you to conceal the truth in order to protect the reputation of someone causing harm. Wise silence prevents impulsive reactions. It does not make you an accomplice to wrongdoing. Distinguish these things clearly. Sometimes you should remain quiet until anger settles, but at other times you must speak calmly, with clear evidence and responsibility. You are entering a season requiring greater discipline, not necessarily because an extraordinary event is certain to occur, but because every new level of maturity requires better self-management. When responsibility grows, careless words can create greater consequences. When more people trust you, you need to guard what has been shared privately. When opportunities increase, you need to discern what should be spoken and what must be nurtured quietly until it becomes stable. Not every plan needs to be announced while it is still a seed. Some plans become weak, not because of an unseen force, but because you spoke too early, received too many opinions, and began doubting before taking action. Learn to preserve what is forming in silence. A new goal does not require immediate approval. A relationship undergoing healing does not need to become a story for everyone to discuss. A professional turning point may require quiet preparation before it is announced. Such silence is not secrecy born of fear. It is protection for something still young. When a seed has only just sprouted, a gardener does not continually dig it up to see how much it has grown. They care for the soil, water it, and remain patient. You also need to learn how to nurture certain things through consistent work instead of grand speech. I want your mouth to stop fighting battles that no longer belong to you. There are conflicts between other people into which you are repeatedly drawn as a mediator, even though they do not truly want resolution. Some people seek you only to confirm that they are right, and the other person is wrong. You have spent much energy carrying problems that were never your responsibility. From now on, ask, is my presence actually helping this situation? Have I been invited to bring a solution, or am I simply being pulled into a cycle of complaint? You can care without standing in the middle of every conflict. You can love without accepting the role of rescuing everyone from consequences they created themselves. Part of self-restraint is learning not to respond immediately. When a message makes you angry, do not let your fingers answer before your mind becomes calm. When you hear a rumor, do not immediately forward it or participate in judgment. When another person attacks you, do not automatically respond with the same tone. Breathe, step outside, pray, and ask what truly needs to be said. Some correct answers spoken at the wrong time will produce nothing good. Some truths need to be presented in a gentler voice so that the listener can receive them. Your tone is also part of the message, and honesty does not permit you to use truth as a weapon of humiliation. Do not regard the ability to remain silent as weakness. A person without self-control must react immediately to avoid feeling defeated. A mature person can allow an insult to pass without proving anything. You do not lose dignity by refusing to answer every provocation. Instead, you demonstrate that another person's mood no longer governs your behavior, yet do not use silence as punishment. Refusing to speak in order to make another person afraid, force them to guess, or fill them with guilt is not peace. It is a form of control. If you need distance, clearly explain that you need time, and when you may return to the conversation. Maturity does not turn silence into a wall, but into a breathing space where neither person causes further harm. When Christ stood before accusation and mockery, he demonstrated that power does not always need to defend itself through many words. He knew who he was, understood what he was doing, and refused to let provocation draw him away from his chosen path. You can learn from that calmness without believing that you must remain silent in every circumstance. The central lesson is not never speaking, but refusing to let another person decide your voice, direction, and worth. When you know that you are living uprightly, you do not need to turn every criticism into a courtroom. You must win. There have been times when you spoke excessively because you feared abandonment. You explained every emotion, sent additional messages, and searched for the words that might change another person's decision. Yet someone who sincerely wants to remain does not need you to beg them to recognize your worth. Someone who has decided to leave will rarely change merely because you discover the perfect sentence. Speak what needs to be spoken sincerely, and then respect the freedom of both people. You cannot force someone to love you by explaining how deserving of love you are. Love contains freedom, and freedom sometimes includes accepting an ending you did not desire. I know that silence may feel uncomfortable at first. When the arguments stop, your mind will bring old questions back. You will imagine what others are thinking, worry that they view your silence as an admission, or fear that their version of the story will prevail. Yet, my beloved child, truth does not always require you to stand guard continually. Do what is right, preserve whatever evidence is necessary, and seek responsible intervention when the matter requires it. Then continue living. You cannot spend your entire life managing your image inside other people's minds. Freedom begins when you accept that some will misunderstand you, yet their misunderstanding does not change the person I know you are trying to become. Stillness also helps you hear your own voice after years of living according to the expectations of others. You became accustomed to answering quickly, agreeing before thinking, and accepting more responsibilities because you feared appearing selfish. Only when you pause do you recognize that you are tired, hurt, or do not genuinely want what you accepted. From now on, before an important request, give yourself permission to say, "I need time to think." This statement is not rude. It protects you from promises made under pressure that later become burdens. Self-restraint does not apply only to anger. It is also the ability not to agree hastily merely to be liked. Use this quiet season to reorder your inner habits. Limit conversations that revolve only around complaining about others. Leave sources that continually plant suspicion, fear, and agitation. Give time to sleep, work, prayer, and relationships that help you become more upright. Write down what you feel before saying it immediately. After one night of rest, you may realize that something you considered a great problem was merely the reaction of someone who was deeply exhausted. Discipline in speech begins with discipline in caring for your body and mind, because an exhausted person more easily says things they do not truly mean. Forgive those who pulled you into verbal battles. Perhaps they knew only how to protect themselves by attacking first. You may understand this without continuing to participate. Forgive the person who deliberately refuses to understand, but do not give them more secrets or vulnerable parts of yourself. Forgiveness does not mean restoring access. It simply helps you stop carrying the argument inside your mind every night. When you no longer rehearse imaginary replies, you will discover that you have far more strength available to build what truly matters. Forgive yourself for the times when your tongue moved faster than wisdom. You may have said things that wounded others, revealed what should have remained private, or joined an argument that did not belong to you. Do not deny it. But neither should you call yourself incapable of change. Admit the wrong, repair it, and establish a new principle. Before speaking, ask yourself, is this true? Is it necessary? Is this the right time? Can I say it without humiliating the listener? If you cannot yet answer, give yourself more time. I am not telling you to become silent because I have forgotten you. I am helping you reclaim the energy once consumed by defending, explaining, and arguing. That energy needs to return to things capable of making your life better. Caring for your health, fulfilling responsibilities, learning a skill, nurturing your family, and building relationships where people know how to listen. You will be surprised by how far you can progress after you stop joining every conflict that invites you. Not because you are avoiding life, but because you understand that attention is an asset, and you no longer want to give it to things that produce neither peace nor growth. Now courageously release the need to have the final word. You do not need to win every conversation in order to live a victorious life. Allow consistent action to become your answer. When others say you cannot change, change quietly. When they call you weak, learn to establish boundaries. When they predict your failure, do not argue. Continue preparing and working. Progress does not need applause to become real. Yet if you are wrong, do not use silence to escape responsibility. Return, admit the wrong, and do what is necessary to repair it. Silence is sacred only when it serves love, clarity, and what is right. If it is used to avoid apologizing, conceal the truth, or force others to carry all the consequences, it is no longer discipline, but avoidance. I want you to know both how to remain quiet and how to speak at the proper time, to possess boundaries and compassion, to protect yourself while continuing to examine your own responsibility. My beloved child, the next season does not need to be called extraordinary in order to have value. If you become calmer, learn to listen more carefully, and stop using words born from pain to hurt others, that is already a profound renewal. If your family can speak without humiliating one another, if you sleep more peacefully because you no longer replay every argument, and if you learn to leave what is useless and gain more time for what is good, your life has changed deeply. Do not search only for events that attract attention. Value the quiet growth that only those closest to you may gradually recognize. Now release the words you do not yet need to speak. Release the reply you prepared for someone who is no longer listening. Release the need for everyone to acknowledge that you were right. Forgive what was spoken in the past, repair what can still be repaired, and refuse to let shame keep you in the old cycle. Choose a new voice, slower, clearer, compassionate, yet not lacking boundaries. When you need to speak, speak with steadiness. When you do not need to speak, allow peace to answer for you. Then return to the quiet place within. Be grateful that you still have the opportunity to learn better communication. Be grateful for those willing to listen, change, and build understanding with you. Hope that relationships can become healthier when each person accepts responsibility. Trust that one accusation cannot erase an entire life of integrity. Decide that from today onward, you will not surrender your mouth to anger, your attention to every provocation, or use silence as a weapon. I am with you both when you speak and when you remain quiet. Michael remains an image of courage, faithfulness, and protection beneath my will, reminding you to preserve what is good within. Continue with disciplined words, a forgiving heart, and a mind no longer pulled away by every noise. You do not need to explain yourself before the whole world. Live so that those who genuinely desire to understand will see you through sincerity, responsibility, and peace. When you do this, silence will no longer feel like a frightening emptiness. It will become the place where you recover strength, hear clearly what needs to be done, and prepare to enter each new day with greater discernment, gentleness, and steadfastness.